Hello everyone and welcome to the show today. Welcome to our Wednesday Wisdom Conversation. Today's topic is all about how to have influence without necessarily needing affluence, right? How to create influence without the need for affluence. That's the topic of today. Now, if you feel that you want people in your community, if you've been hearing people say, I don't have time, maybe you've been hearing people say, I know I want to do this, but I don't have the money. Maybe you'll hear people saying, I really want to make change in this space, but I don't know the people, I don't know the money, I don't have the time, I don't know where to start, I don't know what to do. This video, this conversation today is dedicated to them. Recently, I saw a video of Tony Robbins speaking at a conference, and he was making this phenomenal point, and he sums it up beautifully as well. So I just wanted to repeat what he says. And he said that today we say that we don't have resources, but actually the biggest challenge we have is resourcefulness. So the challenge is not that we don't have resources, the challenge is we're not resourceful enough. We don't know how to make the most of what we have. We don't know how to amplify things. And the incredible thing, this is something I'm adding, the incredible thing is that in today's day and age, we are most empowered through the power of social media, through the power of digital technologies, to actually make a stance, to actually have a voice, to actually share a message. We're at a point in time where anyone across the world can have a voice. And I'm going to share some phenomenal stories of young people, millennials, having action in this space, actually becoming recognized, making a difference in the world. We're talking about how to become resourceful and not worry about whether we have resources, right? Let's think about how to become resourceful, not worrying about resources. Now, I want to start by giving you a few inspirational examples so that we can see what's possible. And then I want you to stick around because I'm going to go into the nuts and bolts of what that actually takes. What are the logistics of actually building that? Now, how many of you have heard of Malala, right? Malala, for the past 3 to 4 years, has been more known. She's been fighting for rights to education, specifically for women. Now, what a thing to stand for, right? What an incredible thing to stand for. The right for women's education, an incredible goal, incredible mission, and something that hasn't been easy. The incredible thing is her activism even attracted a death threat from the Taliban, right? Imagine that. Imagine you're making such waves that your work starts to attract death threats. You've got to really believe in what you're doing if you're going to follow through in that. Now, for a second, just think about the challenges you have. The challenge you have to change, maybe I don't have money, I don't have time, I don't know what to do. This girl's challenge, and bear in mind, she was 15, 16 years old when this happened. Her biggest challenge was that she had a death threat, right? It's incredible. It's mind-blowing that that was her challenge. Her challenge when she was being such an activist is that there were people who actually wanted to kill her. And guess what? They actually nearly succeeded. She was actually shot. She survived. It wasn't easy. And she carried on. She believes so strongly in what she's fighting for that she's now fighting against violence. She's fighting against, mistreating of women, not being allowed into education. And the way she started was that she was actually an undercover blogger for the BBC and under the name of Gul Mackay, not even her real name. Her real name is Malala, but she was going under the name of Gul Mackay so that she could actually be an undercover blogger for the BBC. And a Nobel Peace Prize, she won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2014, right? Incredible story. See what she's up to. She's making huge change. And she was just a young girl when she started. It's incredible what people at that age are able to achieve. The thing I love about this story even more is that there's someone in the background that we know less about. There's a lady named Shiza, right? S-H-I-Z-A. She went to Stanford, she worked for McKinsey, and when she heard about Malala's story, she reached out to her. Again, a young lady in her 20s, reached out to Malala and said, how can I help you? She actually founded the Malala Fund by actually launching a social media campaign called #IamMalala in 2013. Got loads of people involved, loads of people interacting, and in that way was actually funding the Malala Fund, actually crowdfunding and raising awareness around this. So notice, one girl's mission, one girl's vision, one girl's activism attracted the resources that were necessary, right? Just her work, just her core belief in what she was doing and actually doing it, not just believing it, right? That's the difference. We can believe things at our core, but are we acting at them on our core, right? Are we acting on them? Are we actually taking action? Are we actually becoming activated and making change or trying to make change? When we are believing, making things happen actually attract resources. So focusing on resources at the get-go isn't necessarily what you need. What we need to do is focus on the authenticity of what we're trying to achieve. Vani, we always have doubt whether our opinion matters or not, and sometimes we think that our social status might hinder us from making change. How do we overcome this? Vani, great point. Let's take a look at the case for Malala. Social change is different from business. In business, our social status matters. In business, our achievements matter. In business, our grades matter, right? But social change is about authenticity and genuineness and the true belief in a cause. If you look at anyone having massive change today in those spaces, they may be coming from business and making change. That's awesome, right? They've already established themselves in another industry, and now they're bringing that to something that they care about. But if you look at grassroots level change in any area, it's coming from people who don't have degrees in that area, who don't have a background in that area, who haven't made money in that area, but they care about it. And that's why an authentic program of change, not just speaking about stuff, not just writing about stuff, but actually creating small groups of change, small pockets of change, activating individuals to start making a difference, that's something that everyone can connect with. That's something that attracts attention. So when you're doubting your opinion or whether your opinion matters, recognize you're probably right. Most of our opinions don't matter. Everyone has an opinion. If I share something about Standing Rock today, so many people around us will have an opinion. But the key is how many people are turning that opinion into action. So it's true, our opinion may not matter, but as soon as we start turning that opinion into genuine and authentic action, that will attract interest from the right people. Swati, so many resources, how to focus and choose which few to focus on. Well, don't focus on resources. See, when you start a campaign, when you start your change program, when you start what you want to start doing, if you start by thinking, focus on fundraising, how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to make this happen? The truth is you may never start and people won't get involved because they haven't seen you deliver anything yet. See, people want to see a product. They want to see something that they can buy into. They want to see something they can get behind, not an idea or a plan, especially in this space, right? Especially in the space of having an influence without affluence. Think about this deeply. I hope you're connecting with this. Carson, having these sorts of videos daily really keeps me on track when struggling to remember my aims and objectives in life and all that I do. So thank you so much for that. Well, Carson, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you so much for that comment. And this is why having a clear intention or aim is so important. And I'm glad that my videos or these conversations are doing that daily. Trust me, they do it for me as well. But identifying and defining that aim or intention, as I like to call it, is so critical, right? We've got to be attentive to our intention daily for it to convert into actually having any transformative force in the world. And your intention isn't a goal. It isn't, oh, I want to be successful. I want to raise £1 million. That's not what intentions are. Intentions are, what are you going to do? What is your contribution because of what impact you want to create? What is that impact you're trying to create? Your impact isn't to raise $1 million, right? That's not the impact. The impact is to change lives. What is your why? What is driving you? What meaning is there behind what you want to achieve? If you look at the example of Malala and you look at the examples I'm going to share moving forward, you'll find that any change maker who's not looking at social status, who's not doing it through business, even those who are doing it through business are doing it because they have an underlying drive that motivates them, an underlying motivation and intention that drives them beyond stress, that drives them beyond any challenges that they actually encounter on the way. Robert Rodriguez talked about this when making his first film. He talked about the longer your list of needs gets, the further away from your goal you get. Look at how to use what you have. It's so true. If you make a long list of the stuff you need, you'll spend so much time trying to get that stuff to get started that most people never get started. That's actually one of the biggest challenges. When you're getting started, get started with creating something rather than getting started with a list of what you need to create something bigger, right? Start with something. It's called an MVP in technology, right? A minimum viable product. Come up with something minimum viable, something that works. You don't need to be a perfectionist. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just get something moving, right? Get a model moving that allows people to see what you're trying to create. Another example I wanted to give was a lady called, well, a young girl, 19 years old at the time, called Brittany Wenger. She was at that time times 30 people under 30 making a massive change in the world. She created a computer system to detect leukemia, and it was being tested across the world, 99% accurate, but that's what she created. And it's incredible because her drive, again, was to help people, right? So the key thing we find here is that when you want to help people, that's what drives you. And then you're not worried about these resources. And an incredible conversation that I recently heard about was between someone who asked Mother Teresa a question, right? They asked her a question. She was asked, what was your fundraising strategy, right? Mother Teresa was once asked, what was your fundraising strategy? Her response was, and this is mind-blowing, her response was, I just pray. Whatever I get is what I need, right? When Mother Teresa was asked, what is your fundraising strategy? She said, I just pray. Whatever I get is what I need. She had so much belief, so much conviction, so much depth, genuineness, and authenticity in her intention that drove her work, that she had faith and belief that it would attract what it needed. Right? It attracted the right kind of focus. It attracted the right kind of support. And that's why when we're so rooted in our why, when we're so rooted in the change we're trying to make, that takes away the challenge, that takes away the incredible reach as to how far we feel things we are, right? The things that we think we need that feel so far away almost don't even bother us anymore because we know what we can start with right now. Carrie, do you think minor social interactions have more power to progress our society than the larger movements or monetary contributions? Carrie, I think that's where it starts, right? I think minor social interactions kick off the huge global ones. Nothing that is now cascading, rolling, flowing at a global level started at a global level. Everything global started local. It started with one small conversation. It started with one small interaction. So that's exactly it. And naturally, you want it to scale. You want it to grow, right? But start where you are with what you have, right? Thank you, Carrie, for your question. Carly, a few weeks ago, I helped out in Manchester giving out food to the homeless. It was an amazing experience to meet the homeless community. I want to help more, but it's just finding the time to being a single mum. Totally understand that, Carly. And it's commendable that you've already been out there. That's absolutely awesome. And what I'd recommend is start seeing as how when you're able to make that time, it's helping you become a better mum. Maybe it's helping you feel more whole, more holistic, more generous, helping you feel more authentic and genuine, and you're able to pass that on. So sometimes, even when the time is tough, you're connecting on such a deeper level that that's allowing you to gain something to share with others. Jasmine, my ultimate goal is to be a pro bono HIV educator and advocate, but I'm having a hard time finding ways to generate income so I don't need to provide my services for a fee. Totally understand that, Jasmine. The best way thing is to just start, and you'll notice that money may naturally come, people may naturally be interested to invest or help or support, but it's important to understand your product. How are you going to do that, right? Focus in on that rather than focusing on what you need to make that happen, right? Let's keep going. Abu, everyone needs extensive results to keep going. How can one's efforts solely be due to purpose? Abu, great question. It starts with purpose. It starts with authentic purpose, and that will underline your whole journey. But notice that the conviction, the connection with that genuine purpose is what will attract the extensive results, the extrinsic results that you need to keep it going, right? That's how it works. But the individual who's making that change, their reliance isn't on that. Their reliance is on their purpose and the belief that they can make change, right? That needs to be there. That's the critical success factor, the critical ingredient that is often missing. Jill, love that about Mother Teresa. Just finished writing a play on mental health and self-love. Now I'll pray. Want to do a workshop with teenagers. Awesome. And actually go out there. Do that workshop with teenagers, right? Make that happen and you'll see how many people are interested of being involved. Kendall, I'm from Costa Rica and I want to start an ONG for education. I'm still NGO for education. I'm still studying in university, so I have not much money. How can I start? University is the best time to start. Maybe you don't need much money for yourself. That's the best place to get started. Start by connecting with an NGO that already runs. Start by running a project inside an NGO. Trust me, NGOs are dying out there looking for people with a passion, and that's what I'm saying. That's the missing ingredient, right? That's the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is not that you don't need money ever. It's not that you don't need resources. The point I'm making is be resourceful and you'll naturally attract resources at the right time when you're ready. So try and find an NGO that needs help. Try and run a project in an NGO that you're passionate about. Learn from grassroots. Tomorrow I see my husband working his tail off, get rewarded for it with a small award, but not allowed to accept it publicly. How do I help him stay positive and know that his work is making a difference, though not appreciated by the higher ups? Tomorrow, the best thing is recognizing that we should never leave our positivity and appreciation in the hearts and minds of others, right? If the people around you, if the people that believe in you, if the people that trust in you have that faith, are encouraging you, acknowledging you, that's great. And it's in living your purpose that we find the greatest encouragement. It's in living your purpose that you find the greatest joy and depth. So if you're extrapolating, if you're extracting happiness, fulfillment, satisfaction in doing work that you believe in doing it in a way that you believe in, then you won't need the acknowledgement or the recognition from others when it doesn't come. And when it does come, you'll see it as a nice bonus. And that's the incredible thing. When you start taking satisfaction and fulfillment in simply acting in an authentic and genuine way connected to your purpose, then when praise, acknowledgement comes, you receive it gratefully, but you don't get diverted, right? Ego doesn't become the enemy. And when you don't get it, you don't expect it because you're just satisfied doing what you love anyway. And that's the beautiful, most incredible thing about living in meaning and living in purpose, right? People say, if you're the smartest person in the room, change your room. Yeah, I once said that myself. How does one live with this? It is necessary to follow this philosophy. Can we just be helpful to whoever we can without thinking of what we would gain? The aim of that statement, just to clarify, is that always be surrounding yourself with people who are thinking bigger, who can help you grow wiser, who can help you grow more and help you learn. That's a great place to be in, right? What you do from that is hopefully you're going to share that and help others through it. But that's the point of that quote. So let me get into the nuts and bolts of what you actually can do. The first thing is knowing what you stand for, knowing what you believe in, really diving deep into that intention. Now, today we can understand this very clearly. We have the private sector, which has extrinsic values like money, power, fame, right? Security, stability, etc. You then got the voluntary sector, which has intrinsic values like growth, compassion, purpose, meaning. Our intention has to be so drilled and ingrained into that intrinsic values that will motivate you through stress, through pressure, through pain. And that's hard to find, it takes time. But the important thing is to know what you stand for. There's a great Martin Luther King quote where he said that if you don't know what you would die for, you have nothing to live for. And it's about finding that. Life is so much about finding that. Life is not so much about having found it, but it's about totally exploring and finding that. The second thing is build a program, a project, an idea, a workshop, a content piece, a presentation that actually presents that in a practical way that other people can buy in. Right? Are you going to run a school workshop so that children can become more compassionate? Are you going to run a workshop so that women have equal rights? Are you going to create a video that helps promote this theme? Right? There was a great video which was called What I Really, Really Want by the SDGs, which was all about women and education last year. That went viral. It was made from the Spice Girls video. Lyrics were changed. And it had an incredible, incredible impact. And it was just viral globally. Because why? Because it was a video that stood for something. Videos today, posts, social media, blogs, all of these things are great at communicating messages. The key is to consistently focus on your intentional message, right? The third one, which I think a lot of people miss out on, is find like-minded people. Find other people. There are people believing in the same change as you. There are people making change in the same areas as you are. Go out and find them. Right? Go to meetups, go to Coffee Who, all these websites online portals, even in this group right now, you're going to be able to find people who believe in the same things as you. Connect with each other and think about how can you create something that other people will buy into. Always focusing on what are you creating that's creating transformation, not the resources that you need. Take your mind away from that. Think about how you can do it with what you have. Maybe you've got a friend that knows how to make videos. Maybe you've got another friend who's an actor. Maybe you've got another friend who's a writer. Get them all together, put them in a room, make a video, right? Maybe you know someone who's a lecturer at university. And if you don't, Social media today is giving you all the tools to do that. Do that through LinkedIn, do that through Twitter. Find these people, connect with them, write to 1 million people before you get turned down, right? Before you feel that it's too much. And start building an online community and voice. Start speaking about your message. Do your own Facebook Lives. Get out there through these social channels. Actually start creating a voice around your work. And it doesn't have to be about you, it's about your work. Start creating a voice around it. Share with your friends, get them to share with it. And then try and find and connect with organizations that already have a big voice that can help amplify yours, right? It's much more powerful to have an organization or an entity that backs your voice to start off with. That's the process, right? Know what you stand for, know your intentions deeply, live for those intrinsic values, die for them too. Second thing is build content, products, projects, workshops that actually support that. Third, build a network, create a network that actually supports that with like-minded people, new ideas. Fourth, build an online community to back that. 5, get your friends to share it, get the people who love you to share it, start talking to people about it. The great thing about an intention is the more you repeat it to people, the more people know how to help you and how to connect. See, when we meet people, how many of us really talk about what we're trying to achieve through an intention? Not the achievement of, I want to make $1 million. When you say that, no one's going to say, oh, I know a guy who's got $1 million who could give it to you. No one says that, right? No one ever says that. But if you say, oh, I'm trying to think about how I can give equal rights to women for education, someone's going to say, oh, I know someone who works at a company. Oh, I know someone who's trying to do something similar. You're going to get into people's generosity. See, we're all wired for generosity. It's just that we're not asking the right questions for help. That's actually what's missing. Because our goals are extrinsic value-based, money, power, fame, that doesn't attract support. Right, they did a study with 18-month kids, right, 18-month-old kids, and they saw when someone around them was dropping something or anything like that, the kid would pick it up and go give it back to them. Right, we're wired for generosity. We're wired to help other people when we feel they need help for something positive, when we feel they need help for something that they're trying to do in a genuine and authentic way. When you tell someone that your goal is just to get a job at a company, they may not be motivated to help you, but you will dive into people's intrinsic nature when it's about making a positive difference. There's a great example of this there's a great TED Talk that I recommend watching by Nipun Mehta, who talks about this at TEDx Fargo. And he talks about something that he helped create called the Karma Kitchen. The Karma Kitchen is now in 17 places across the world where you actually don't pay for the meal you have, but you pay for the meal after you. So you can give however much you want, right? Incredible concept. And the amazing thing is that everyone serving there is a volunteer taking out time to do something generously. So the waiter is a volunteer, the cashier is a volunteer, the people cooking are volunteers. Everyone is a volunteer. And they saw through studies at Berkeley University that when you analyze this, when we're working just for generosity, not for money, it brings out another human side to ourselves. Right? When people see you working hard for something you believe in that isn't motivated by money, it brings out the generosity in humans that we wouldn't necessarily notice. Hugh Evans, he leveraged social media for the Global Poverty Project, launching the Global Citizen Festival where people, the crowd, online audience, earned tickets to attend a festival where Stevie Wonder and Alicia Keys were performing through live actions on social media. They did 900,000 actions supporting good all across the world. And it was just an ingenious idea. It's incredible what is possible. So set your intention. Be authentic to it, right? Don't create your intention based on hearing someone else. Create an authentic intention that you truly, truly connect with. When we start putting price tags, research finds that when we start putting price tags onto things, we lose value and connection to that which is priceless. Right? When we start putting price tags onto things, we lose connection to that which is priceless. And that's why it's so integral that we start focusing on these intrinsic motivators as our greatest source of inspiration and motivation. Right? Money will start to desensitize us if that's what we start to focus on. Wikipedia, 100 million voluntary hours have been given to developing Wikipedia, right? It's incredible what can happen when we crowdsource, crowdfund, and crowd create what we're actually trying to do. So I just want to define what intention means so that you can figure that out. To have in mind a purpose or plan to direct the mind. It's something you can remind yourself of daily. When you feel you're losing track, you're not sure which direction you're going, you can come back on and focus in on what that actually is. The best way to communicate that energy, going back to that Mother Teresa conversation, she was asked, how do you fundraise? She said, I simply pray. What I get is what I need, right? I'm not saying you don't need money. I'm saying your authenticity, genuineness, and deep conviction in your intention will attract the right resources that you need at the right time. So get your intention right. Focus on those intrinsic motivators. Remember, global change is absolutely possible. Don't forget to start building a product, a project, an idea, a video, content that actually symbolizes what you believe in. That will attract attention. And remember, it's not that we have a lack of resources, it's that we have a lack of resourcefulness, right? I wish you all the best in the change you're trying to make. Thank you for helping me make change. Let's keep making change together and growing our global community of change makers. Keep inviting people to the conversation so that we can get you more connected to people across the world. I'll see you very, very soon. Take care, guys.